Had to grab me a jacket, got a little chilly. Islam. So those are your symbols. Um, so let's continue. Did you ever stop to think? Well, let's see. Did you ever stop to think that the Pope and every ordained priest of the Catholic Church are master astrologers? These master astrologers are the ones who have long suppressed the science of the zodiac by way of negative religious mystery or superstition. Only selfish dictator, master astrologers can enslave the human minds to false gods and religion. And it requires only selfish master astrologers to expose the mystic angle of astrologers' priesthood, dictatorship, and thus set the human enslaved minds free. Now you may continue reading the unselfish astrologer's side of law. Prince Hall is only a mystic name, so also King Solomon, Hiram Abith, Queen of Sheba, and David are only mystic names. These scientific universal symbols of the works of nature are definitely not idol god worship. Only the statues of dead women and men referred to as saints and prophets are idol god worship in dead culture. In the year 1215 Moorish calendar year, which is equivalent to 1795 Crusade Crux or Christian calendar year, in the region of Anglia, Belgium, Amsterdam, known today as New York City, the Empire State, a fearless free Moorish astrologer and mathematician by the name of Ben Bay laid the foundation of the Universal Apprentice Hall of the science of government, human character, unity, human equality, justice, and peace, Salim, upon the 12 signs of the zodiac and the four squares of 90 degrees, and termed it the hub of the universe for perpetual universal freedom. The foundation is referred to in the Crusade USA history books as Benjamin Banneker. You are what you know, not what you believe. One never knows by being told or preached to. One will have to acquire applied knowledge of the way of study and prove that which they know by practical, scientific demonstration, minus mystery, mystic phrases, signs, and mythology, and mystic passwordism and secret clanism. We, the people of North America, have the Universal Constitution, which definitely equally represents each individual of the entire human family, some 2,160,000,000 upon this ball of mud termed Earth. Thus, in order for each individual of the USA to understand the five great principles of our Universal Constitution, it is necessary that they be taught every degree of science of astrology, the 12 signs of the whole creation of space and time, and the master key of civilization. Yes, the Universal Constitution has and always will remain in North America, referred to as the North Gate, the hub of the universe, 180 degrees east longitude, and therefore definitely cannot be destroyed by foreign powers, and neither us. Freedom is everybody's business. The majority of the people of USA have an education superior to that of the majority of the masses of humanity in foreign lands. The majority of the people of the USA have an education superior to that of the majority of the masses of humanity in the foreign lands. We have mastered every category of science. Now we have the last category of science to master, namely the science of astrology, the 12 signs of the zodiac, which is the father of sciences, owing to the education of the majority of the masses of the USA. They, on a national scale, could complete the necessary course of astrology in 6 months. It has already been stated that the 12 signs of zodiac in the universal and the North America is the North Gate and the hub of the universe or zodiac, 180 degrees. Please do not label me as a prophet and neither your leader. I am only the son of a widow, the great leader, namely mother. One who possesses knowledge of astrology, the zodiac, does not have to rely on belief to be saved. Astrology prepares one to be saved by way of knowledge minus belief. Gnosis, atheist, infidel are all Latin terms meaning knowledge or to know and prove that which you know in a practical, scientific manner minus relying upon a belief and opinion. A belief and an opinion are not absolute sound for ones to rely upon perfection and economic and social progress, but the 12 signs of the zodiac compromises the circle of 360 degrees of the absolute universal perfection of science of geometry. Geometry has never told a lie. 90 is not a mystery, and neither a theory. 12 is not a mystery, and neither an opinion, belief, or theory. These two figures speak one universal language in terms and facts. Yes, the number 9 or 90 and the 12 are definitely debatable. The science of the zodiac will automatically expose every undercover act of mankind universally, including the so-called moral doctrine of the organized dictatorship over the human's minds and reasoning. The two schools of thought. There are two schools of ideas in the USA, namely theology and masonry. The two schools of thought ideal in the USA, namely theology and masonry. Thus, in order for the masses of the USA to maintain and increase the liberty or the freedom of those schools of ideas must resort to the teaching of the science of the 12 signs of the zodiac. Well, out of these two schools of ideas, only one is qualified. This one is referred to as the Masons. Yes, we must increase our liberty by solving the nation's crucial problem by the square and angle of 90 degrees. Why the Asiatics are rising so rapidly. The teaching of the science of the 12 signs of the zodiac is rapidly spreading in the Asiatic world to fulfill with the majority of the common masses in the course of time. Freedom is everybody's job. The population of the USA appears to continue to rebel against the science of the 12 signs of the zodiac, owing to their belief in the doctrine of theology being their only salvation. You might look up the terms idol and paganism in a first-class dictionary for definition, and then draw your own conclusion by reason. If we, the peoples of the Union of North America, are not careful, these so-called ignorant Asiatic masses of humanity will rise by the way of 12 signs of the zodiac as our superiors in practical, economic, and social knowledge or culture, but not to enslave us. We have to rise by way of the zodiac to make progress on equal basis among them or remain our slaves, relying upon impractical ideas or doctrine. Knowledge is power. Freedom is everyone's job. What is the zodiac? Astrology means astrologic or logic of the works of nature as shown in the 12 signs of the zodiac, having to do with solution to the problems and human characteristics. Revelation. The term revelation means to reveal or to make known to which has been suppressed or shielded by selfish people or organized dictatorial nature. Well, in the book of John, Revelation, the zodiac is referred to as the 12 foundations, the 12 gates, the 7 seals, the 4 squares, and the measurement of man. The term Maneva means number 9. Thus, the zodiac of 360 degrees is squared by the number 9. Thus, the revelation means the very end of the doctrine or of mystery, mythology, and organized theology, dictatorship, and the rise of humanity, civilization, namely the science of astrology, the 12 signs of the zodiac. Here, the entire earth will become the great city of Maneva, the number 9, with freedom, justice, peace, and economic and social progress. Let us remember that the atomic bomb of August 6, 1945, dropped on the Asiatics has made it possible for the entire human family to be set free of theological dictatorship. Geometry has never told a lie. After one has been taught the applied culture, astrology, the science of the 12 signs of the zodiac, they will well understand what the mystic phrase Tubal Cain means. To them in their economic and social stride, Tubal Cain is one of the great passwords in mystic masonry. I, C.M. Bay, am a free-born Moorish American and well recommended by my universal law, the science of 12 signs of the zodiac, in which I inherited from my Moorish forefathers of this northern hemisphere who ruled the world and the 7 seas for 1100 years to the Franciscan Revolution of 1789 and the Union of 1863 and 1898. The last 300 years of the 1196 years of Moorish world ruleship, the half-breed generations of Moorish fathers suppressed the science of the 12 signs of the zodiac by brute force, from which, in the mass ignorance, hatred, slavery, social caste, brutality, war, bloodshed, and destruction, from there resulted the fall of the Moorish nations over Islam, namely the science of the zodiac and the physician order of Rome in the North Gate, America, to rule the world and the seven seas up to 1941 to 1948. I have attempted to convey to the reader that the Moorish nation violated the universal law of the zodiac, which resulted to total corruption and their fall. The Franciscan inherited the Moorish corruption and ruled the world by it to the present. Both nations are equally guilty for their violation of the 12 signs of the zodiac. Well, the 12 signs of the zodiac, the universal constitution, is still here in the North Gate, the hub of the universe, and so are the Moors and the Amazon Franciscans. They are referred to as Negroes, Indians, and whites. People in North America and no other place in the world, there has never been any people such as Negro, Indian, and white. Such names are in reality a universal crime against humanity. So let us resort to the zodiac and thus become as united American citizens for the first time in history. Freedom is everybody's job. 1025 Moorish calendar or 1605 Franciscan calendar. The evil act of the Moors and the Amazon Franciscans of South America, contrary to the zodiac, automatically converted the entire world, the minds of humanity, in which is termed a living hell during the past 400 years. The fathers of civilization and offsprings. The dark-skinned, kinky-haired, thick-lipped Moabite nation are the fathers of civilizations North, Central, and South America. The dark-skinned, kinky-haired Moorish nation are the direct descendants of the Moabite nation. The term Moor means navigator of the seven seas, guided by the North Gate, the pole star. The Moorish nation prior to the Revolution and the Union of 1863 in North America is referred to as Spanish. The ruddy or red-skinned white Amazon Franciscan nation are the experimentation descendants of the Moorish nation. E pluribus unum is Latin, meaning one of many races, caste, color, and sub-nations. The Great Seal on the U.S. $1 bill is that of the Moorish nation. It is contrary for a victorious nation to put on its currency the head of the defeated nation. Well, the head of the feathers on the U.S. early penny, referred to as Indian, is that of the white Amazon woman, and the head with the feather on the buffalo nickel is that of a white Amazon man. The redskins, the feather, and the eagle symbolizes the height of their rulership and their mystic royal crown at the top of the world, North Canada. The term Franciscan means freeman or Frenchman, or freedom and liberty, franchise, which automatically made North, Central, and South America the first France, and the people's Frenchmen, and spread abroad. The term German and Jew were derived, and I'm going to read that again because y'all need to, I'm not just reading just so you can say, oh, I heard what he said. Listen to the application of what has been told to the people versus as the reality that everything rooted from North, South, Central America, a Mexican, etc. So I'm going to read that again. I want you all to catch it. The term Franciscan means freeman or Frenchman, or freedom and liberty franchise, which automatically made North, Central, and South America the first France. But when we hear about these places, we think of other places because they've waged war on geography as well. So know that geography is an instrument that can be used positively or to negative effect. So we must be cognizant and aware that it can be used as such, and therefore use it for what it's worth. And it is a weapon, and you need to mobilize your minds and equip it with maps and geography. Because France and these different locations that we think to be in other locations have been shifted, have been grafted to organize a complete plan that fits an agenda from every piece of the puzzle: religion, geography, education, sports. Everything serves its purpose, either positively or negatively. Islam. The term German and Jew were derived from German or German, based upon the 12 signs of the zodiac. Each sign of the zodiac is considered a jury. Each sign of the zodiac is considered a jury, and the 12 signs are referred to as the 12 jurymen. The 12 signs of the zodiac is squared by 9. 9 goes into 360 degrees 40 times. Thus, the number 9 represents the 9 judges of the Supreme Court, federal government, Masonry, or Islam. I am the widow son of 9, the first law. Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem of the United States of North America, 1863. Written by Francis Scott Key, scot-free. During the decisive war between the Franciscans and the fallen Moors in the year 1814, which is equivalent to the year 1234, Moorish calendar year, for many years the Union States of 1863 had no official national anthem. Finally, it was adopted as a national hymn. The Statue of Liberty of Baldos Island in the Bay of New York. We designated by Bartholdi and presented by the franchise of free people of the Union States in the year 8. It's a typo. 188 in honor of the victorious daughters of the American. I'm thinking 1888. In the honor of the victorious daughters of the American Revolution who overthrew the Moorish Society of Islam. The statue was completed in 1886 on Ellis Island. All white foreigners are taught to uphold the Union States' right myth of white supremacy before they can qualify for citizenship in good old USA. The statue of the Christ of the Andes in Argentina, South America, was erected in the year 1892 in honor of the free Franciscan Sons of the Union Army of the North American Republic of 1863, who defeated the last of the falling Moorish nation from Cuba to the islands of Hawaii and the Philippines between 1863 and 1898. The fallen Moorish nations are referred to in USA history books as Spanish. The Moorish nation Latin surnames Bay and El. These surnames are the Moorish descendants of America without legal due process. Your Moorish nationality and name, Bay and El, compromise your birthrights, which will change you from being a U.S. Negro slave to a respected citizen. Bay means Lord of the earth, meaning subdue the earth and make it yield all of the necessities of livelihood. Thus the earth obeys. Islam means I am the great. I am, namely, you and me, woman, and sons. El means the center of wisdom or gravity, the law of attraction, and the power of the human mind, education. Allah means the Moorish woman who is the mother of modern humanity, male and female, of different shades of skin or colors. Al-Quran means the chronological record of the Moorish nation, namely the science of the 12 signs of the zodiac, the universal law and constitution, geometry, the square and angle of 90 degrees. The Franciscan Union States Right Society of 1863, North America and abroad, is guided by the Magna Charta and not the Constitution. The following reveals how the barbarians of North America, the tribe of the axe and the tribe of the spear, allied together and became the ruler of the world and the seven seas between 1828 and 1898. The terms angla means spear and sacca means axe, Latin. The term English and Anglo were framed from Angla, and the term Saxon was formed from axe. Phrased together, brought about the Anglo-Saxon in North and Central America and spread abroad. The Anglia, or English language, was framed in 1828 in Virginia, from which resulted in the birth of the New World and New Nation. Prior to 1828, the Franciscan tribes were speaking various dialects of Latin, the language of the Moorish nation. Thus, the Anglia, or English language, is the manifestation of all spoken Latin dialects, which makes it simplified universal language for the one race, the human race. The history of the 12 signs of the zodiac reveals that humanity on a global scale has been totally cut off from the truth for 400 years. Thus, the history of the 12 signs of the zodiac has revealed to the reader the great chain of human progress through the scientific knowledge and ignorance during the past 51,840 years, from the Moabites to the Moors, and from the Moors to the Franciscans, or the Franks, or the Anglo-Saxon. Where the dark-skinned, kinky-haired, thick-lipped Moabite or Moorish woman comes from, no one knows. There's not an animal in the world that has thick lips, kinky hair, and dark skin like her. All that which can be proved is that she is the mother of male and female, the human race, who reproduce their kind. She, the Moabite or Moorish woman, is referred to as widow. Please do not take the wrong conception, because all female or woman are equally mothers and sisters, and all female sons come into being by way of them. Therefore, all sons are brothers and sons of a widow. The real hell and purgatory. Ignorance of the scientific truth of the works of nature involving the inner nature and action and reaction of human beings, as shown in the 12 signs of the zodiac, results in a confused state of mind and mental and economic social suffering referred to as hell. The real heaven, freedom, and peace. Shalom. Knowledge of the zodiac gives one a perfect state of mind and reason upon that, namely, the forces of nature which dwell within themselves and about them, all of which is referred to as haven and happiness and peace of mind with oneself. We have nothing to fear except fear itself. So seek scientific knowledge of the 12 signs of the zodiac. Then you will be set free of artificial culture and fear. Shalom means peace in the Moorish language of Latin. It is agreed that educated slaves are the greatest slaves, namely slaves as the result of false history and religious doctrine. Thus, the unconscious Moors of the USA, referred to as Negroes, are the world's greatest slaves. They have been educated to believe that white people brought their forefathers from Africa as Negro slaves, and that Abraham Lincoln set them free in 1863. All of which is the greatest fallacy that the world has ever known. Mythical history of the North American barons. The names such as Africa, Egypt, Babylon, Indian, Negro, Greek, Muhammad, and Ethiopia are that of the product of the Franciscan Dutch priests, pirate masters of the Iron Cross, Habsburg Legion of Brazil, South America between the Franciscan Revolution of 1789 and the Union of 1863, North America. The Moorish nation, namely the kinky-haired, dark-skinned, thick-lipped people, had no Muhammad as their prophet, and neither God nor religion. The kinky-haired Moorish nation law is geometry and the 12 signs of the zodiac, realities of which is described in this book, Clock of Destinies, the secrets of the Great Seal. I have attempted to convey to the readers intelligent that Negro, Mohammedan, Indian, and African as a human being together is a myth of philosophers of the Franciscan priesthood of the Revolution and Union, and therefore have no history. Whenever the so-called intellectual, politician, lawyers, and representatives, Negro slaves celebrate Negro History Week and boast of being a Negro, the white peoples of the Union enjoy a hearty laugh up their sleeve because they know that the so-called Negro slave leaders represent the blind leading the blind. Many Negro slaves have no rights. that white woman and men should respect. The fact that what Biblo of Mississippi had reference to when he once asserted if he Biblo could talk to the Negro from door to door as he wished, the Negro would never want to vote in white society again. Well, the contents of this little book, Clock of Destiny, has fully explained what Biblo wished to tell the Negro slaves, but could not, owing to his obligation of the Christian Religion Union Social Order of 1863, the very same obligation that every white woman and man of the Order of Mary and Christ are under at home and abroad. So study the contents of this little book, you all, and thus redeem yourself from being a Negro slave by way of knowledge, minus violence, guns, atomic bombs, jet, plane, tanks. I myself am not a Negro, slave, and neither a Christian, yet I am your male brother. The mathematic trip around the world by the way of the 12 signs of the zodiac are referred to in Mason mythology as I am traveling east. Geography of the 12 signs of the zodiac and the rise and fall of nations from 1605 to 1965. The fulfillment of 360 years of ignorance, fear, bloodshed, and destruction. Drink lots of water, Moors. Lots of water. Flush your body. Drink lots of water. Following this geography of the zodiac is a diagram of the earth revolving around the sun, marking the 12 months of and signs during its annual revolution of 360 degrees. Each degree of the earth revolving around the sun represents a day. Thus, 12 months of the zodiac comprises 360 days, which is the complete circle of universal perfection. Firstly, I begin with Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, the vernal equinox. When the rays of the sun are 1 degree in the sign Aries, it is the first day of the spring season, the first day of the new year in harmony with the universal law of nature. The rays of the sun enter Aries at Sumatra, East India, on the tropics of Cancer, in the northern hemisphere on March 21st. Here the days or nights are universally equal. Aries, Taurus, and Gemini are the first 3 signs and months of the new year. Thus, on June 21st, the rays of the sun are in its last degree of the sign Gemini, which marks the end of the spring season and the beginning of the summer season. 3 in the east signs of the zodiac, 5,400 miles. Thus, on June 21st, the rays of the sun are in the first degree of the sign Cancer. Here, the earth is at a right angle of 90 degrees, the longest day of the year. This 90-degree angle of the earth to the sun occurs at Wake Island in the Pacific Ocean and in the east gate of the zodiac, referred to as the 3 in the east, meaning the first 3 signs of the zodiac. High moon. And I'm going to skip those parts because you all can get the book and read in depth and get more knowledge of it. The great planet Saturn. The great planet Saturn is the schoolmaster of the universe, Earth. Thus, Saturn governs the products of the earth, economic restriction, sorrow, and the destiny of mankind and the rise and fall of nations. It requires 30 years for Saturn to pass through the 12 signs of the zodiac and the 360 years to complete his major revolutions of the great walls of the zodiac. Thus, 360 years of Saturn major revolution of the great walls of the zodiac subtracted from 1965 equals 1605. The era which began the Moorish astrologers who predicted the rise and fall of nation, which had its beginning with the Dutch pirate priests of the Habsburg Legions, Iron Cross Society of Brazil, South America. In 1935, the planet Saturn entered the sign Aries and passed through the 6 signs of the east and the north gate of the zodiac from 1935 to 1950, November 21st, and crossed the equator into the sign Libra in Brazil, South America. which is the first sign of the west gate of the zodiac. Thus, from here in Brazil, Saturn will pass through the three signs of the west gate during the next 7 years from 1950 top to 1957. Then Saturn will enter the sign Capricorn, the first sign of the south gate of the universe, and pass through the three signs of the south gate by 1965. Here, the great planet Saturn will have completed his major 360-year revolution of the rise and fall of nations, which had its beginning in 1605 in Brazil, South America, and will end in North America in 1965. The influences of planets passing through the 12 signs of the walls of the zodiac has never told a lie. It requires 1,440 years. 1,440 years for Saturn to complete four major revolutions of 360 years each. Thus, 1,440 years ago, in the pyramid of Yucatan in Mexico, the scientists of the Moorish nation established the new era of Islam geometry. In their supreme process of scientific experimentation with electronics, the law of attraction involving plant life and animal and human beings, from which resulted the people of red or ruddy shade of skin with long blonde hair, and the new era of medical science, surgery, and blood banks. The name of the head scientist of the Moorish nation during that era is Yaqub, which means in English, Jacob. Here was the beginning of the 12 tribes of humanity and global. Here was the beginning of the 12 tribes of humanity and the global amalgamation to manifest the different colors or shades of the human skin and the conversion of the masses of humanity into caste systems as to manifest as different peoples from each group of the caste. A group of people with the same shade of skin and hair put into a caste so to prevent them from conducing sexual relationships with another caste slightly different. Their color and hair will remain practically the same, and had not the white people occupied this system of the Moorish nation in 1863, the Union would not have been any white people on earth today. Well, since Saturn is the planet of destiny and human evolution, the caste of white people is justified of the Union of 1863 in order that they might rise and rule the world and the seven seas for their first time in history. During this period of their rulership, they employed injustice against the Moorish descendants, which is true justice, owing to the mistreatments of their forefathers by the half-breed cruel Moors. This process of universal justice is referred to as retribution, meaning we dark-skinned Moorish descendants of the USA and abroad have fully reaped the cruel harvest of the seed sown by our forefathers under the influence of the great planet Saturn, the force of justice, and now the caste white people will have to obey the influence of Saturn against their will, from which the result in the loss of their color or shade of skin forever. The great planet Saturn is the schoolmaster of the universe and the force of justice who teaches mankind to reason upon and fear no evil. I am aware of the fact that the contents of this book is hard for the reader to understand, owing to their desire to endeavor to protect the false doctrine which they have been taught to believe. But by the time the planet Uranus passes through the sign Cancer and Leo during the next 14 years of the North Gate, USA, every living person in the USA will turn loose that which they have been taught to believe and protect. Then the contents of this book will be just right, and then understand and cherish and to endeavor to apply the law of nature. The great planet Saturn is still the schoolmaster of the universe, who has never failed to make one understand the difference between right and wrong, or the real and the unreal, or fiction and facts. Yes, the influence of the great planet Saturn and the revolutionary or radical planet Uranus will make the intellectual masses of the USA forget all about the fictions, the literature or history involving the mythical or fictitious races and nations such as African, Indian, Negro, Egyptian, and the fictitious story of Moses, and the plight of the Jews, and the myth of Jerusalem, and the myth of the birth of Christ by the Holy Virgin Mary, and thereby face the fact of the history of the Moabite nation, and the Moorish nation, and the Amazon Valley, South American transition blood nation of the Union of Rome in 1863, North America. The white red-skinned people are only 1,000 years old. 1,000 years subtracted from the Moorish 1,371 equals 371 years, Moorish calendar year. Yes, the influences of the great planet Saturn and the radical planet Uranus definitely do not debate and neither argue with the masses of humanity who are relying upon falsehood for their guidance rather than facts of life, existence, and realities. These two forces of nature, namely Saturn and Uranus, makes humanity yield to realities and life existence right or destroys themselves in their endeavor to invade realities. Now pull off your shoes, and the ground on which you stand is in one whole universe, holy body. So let us rise and face realities and commute together as one race, the human race. Realities are right. The zodiac represents the law of cause and effect. The history of the Moorish nation and the Moorish science of the zodiac has proven that the people of the USA are more overcome by fear than they are hatred. The white people are afraid of the revelation of the Moorish history and science. The unconscious Moors, Negroes, are afraid of God, afraid of truth, afraid of one another, and afraid of hell, afraid of truth, afraid of one another, and afraid of hell, the devil, and haven. The people of the world do not really hate one another. The trouble is fear and ignorance. The star and crescent, or the flag with the moon and the star in the center, is that of the living Moorish nation of North America, referred to as Negroes. As long as the geometry and the north gate of the zodiac live, the Moorish nation also lives. 1605 Christian calendar year is equivalent to 1025 Moorish calendar year. The Crusade Dutch German priest mathematician added 580 mythical years to the correct Moorish calendar year of 1025. 580 added to 1196 equals 1776. 580 years ago added to 1283 Moorish calendar year equals 1863. Thus, the head of the living Moorish nation, labeled as Negroes, are referred to as dry bones in the valley, meaning they are mentally dead for the lack of knowledge of truth, and the white educators are afraid to teach them the truth. And if the white people would attempt to reveal to the mentally dead Moors the truth of their Moorish history, they would rebel against accepting it because they believe the white people have taught them the truth, and as a result, the mentally dead Moors, from the preachers on down, their followers will conceive the thought of the idea that the white people are endeavoring to trick them. No way out. So this tendency have the white educators on a no way out spot. Therefore, the positions of the great planet Saturn and radical planet Uranus, ruling the north, west, and south gates of the walls of the zodiac, the universe, during the next 7 years will arouse them from their mental death of ignorance to a living conscious being, the head of the Moorish nation. The influence of Saturn and Uranus will arise, and the people from their mental death, whether I myself write it or not, because it has already been written in the universal book of nature, namely the zodiac. I am only expressing it on paper in order for those who to read it and become redeemed from their mental death of ignorance and thereby rise with intelligence, unity, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, in order that the great economic and social change in the USA, the North Gate, might be brought about more rapidly and peacefully, contrary to the approaching bloodbath owing to ignorance, namely religious, racial, color, and state traditional ignorance. The rapidly approaching tendency has influenced me to write this little book. So let us all learn to live instead of waddling in blood up to our necks, endeavoring to outdo the cycle forces of the planet Uranus and Saturn. Joe Stalin and his hosts are definitely not thinking about coming to take us over, as you are being taught to believe. The science of the zodiac reveals the great fear of white people of the union is the sexual relationship between the white woman and dark-skinned and brown-skinned man on a national scale, where the great planet Saturn is bound by a great circle which represents no way out. Even if I did not write it, the great ring around the planet Saturn will bring about the relation regardless of cost. The great planet Saturn recognizes only two different peoples in the whole creation, namely female and male, or woman and man. Yes, Saturn is the schoolmaster of the universe, one race, the human race, and one aim and one destiny, progress and peace. 15 years of unfavorable weather conditions. The influence of the great planet Saturn on the weather condition in the northern hemisphere from 1950 until 1965. For the next 15 years, the planet Saturn will be below the equator in the southern hemisphere. Saturn crossed the equator on November 21st in 1950 and will remain south in 1965. This position of Saturn results in falling weather, cold winters, floods, and chilly springs and summers in the northern hemisphere until 1965. There will also be numerous earthquakes. The science of astrology, the 12 signs of the zodiac, is everybody's law for them to cooperate with the works of nature, and nature cooperates with them, from which spell unity, perfection, and progress. One does not have to belong to church to gain benefit through applying the science of astrology, and neither do they have to employ the mystic God names such as Allah, God, Christ, and Muhammad as their prophet. The term nature is not confusion. One does not have to bow in prayer to supreme law of nature to gain benefit. The only way for one to gain supreme benefit in life is to study the works of nature as shown in the 12 signs of the zodiac. The sign Virgo governs our industries and organized labor. The eastern half of USA and Canada and West Indies, also coal mines, medical herb plants, and chemistry and granite rock composed of mica. And this is a diagram, so you have an idea. That is a diagram of the zodiac and how it's revolving. So make sure you get the book, subscribe, like, comment. I'm gonna put the link, the direct link of how you can get this stone for a very reasonable price. So that's the diagram. I'm not gonna read about the diagram. Okay, I'm gonna read this for you because it get deep. Scottish Rite Clansman. The mystic phrases employed by the Christian master pontiff or priest of the Union of 1863 and 1868 are responsible for their followers' ignorance of the applied principles of the universal law and the constitution of the zodiac. All of their followers have its blindfolded secrets, mystic password, and mystic phrases laden with heavy dues or taxation. It is impossible for the followers of the mystic orders of the USA to enlighten and elevate fallen humanity owing to their blindfolded obligations to keep their so-called secrets, the blind leading the blind, which is a universal disgrace against the perfect law of the book of nature and the 12 signs of the zodiac. Our boys are paying the price on the battlefields today. One's M.A., M.S.B.A, B.S, D.D, L.L, D, PhD, and Alpha, Beta, Kappa, Gamma to Omega, especially if their skin is dark brown, means very little to them in practical manner until they have absorbed the revelation of the Moorish history and the science of the zodiac shown in this little book. All MD possesses universal knowledge of the zodiac, the undefeated Moorish Marine Force of North America and the Pacific Ocean. 1853 at the Golden Gate, California. The Japanese or Spanish are the product of the undefeated Moorish Marine Force in the year 1273 Moorish calendar year, which is equivalent to 1853 Crusade Crux or Christian calendar year. During that era, their skin were dark brown. They also had thick lips and kinky hair. So also the Moors of the modern Hawaii and Philippines had thick lips and dark skin and kinky hair. The modern Japanese and Philippines had thick lips and dark skin and kinky hair. The modern Japanese and Philippines and Hawaiian skins are of golden shade owing to one-sided relationship between the white man and the dark-skinned woman. King Solomon. King Solomon is the earth which contains all the elements of wealth and the forces of nature. Thus the earth is the storehouse for all of the wealth of creation, which makes it in the wisest man or planet. So also the human body contains all of the elements of the earth. Harim Abif is the sun, which makes the month, season, signs, and measurements of time and space, during the Earth's annual revolution of 360 degrees. The Great Master is the fall season, October, November, and December. In January the 1st, when the sun enters the sign Capricorn and ushers in the winter season in the northern hemisphere, here the cold weather strikes its fatal blow to plant life, and in the mid-February, the earth evolving or arising from the slumber of the winter season toward the spring season for reviving or resurrection of warm weather and plant life. Thus, the approaching grip of the spring season against the winter season is referred to as the strong grip of the lion's paw, meaning the spring season has raised plant life from its deathbed of frozen earth to a living, perpendicular new life of March 21st, April 1st, the vernal equinox. The vernal equinox. After the earth has completed its 360 degrees in the 12th sign, Pisces, and evolves to the first sign, Aries, then the mystic names such as Wishful Master and the ram and the burning bush are employed, meaning the heat of the earth and the sun is in the northern hemisphere for 6 months, the period of planting, cultivating, vacation, and return for harvest. Queen of Sheba. Queen of Sheba is the 5 great principles of the 12 signs of the zodiac, namely wisdom, understanding, unity, peace, and progress. And write those down. I'll say them again. Queen of Sheba is the 5 great principles of the 12 signs of the zodiac, namely wisdom, understanding, unity, peace, and progress. King Solomon's temple is the human body and the earth. The human body is the real temple. It's created by the mother from conception to birth in the course of 9 months without the use of nails and the sound of a hammer. Thus, the human body is the temple of good of mother's grand perfection, referred to in mystery as God. The Union 1863 tradition of white and colored masons is a universal disgraceful violation of the supreme law of masonry. The origin of the term mason. The origin of the term mason. The origin of the term mason. To kill debates. Get this out, you all. It's your responsibility. The origin of the term mason. The term mason is derived from womb, man, son. Womb and son. Meaning woman and son. Wo is a negative, wound, and man is positive, meaning the powers of the womb of female are responsible for the creation of sons in the course of 9 months, which makes woman supreme master creator of both female and sons from unformed matter planted by another son of a female. Phrased together spells wound, man, sons. Woman, sons. Wound, man, sons, or woman and sons. Woe was struck out, and N was struck out, leaving Ma. Phrased with son, which spells muson, mama son. Thus, woman, son, and child reproduction compromises the great triangle, the 3-in-1, of universal supreme creation of humanity. Woman has no father and neither husband, for all males sprung from her. Where woman comes from, no one knows. This makes her a widow. The cross in the reality, the positive number 10, which symbolizes X or plus, or the level of the plum. I'm going to let you check that out when you get the book. This is food for initiated Masons, 3rd, 32nd, and 33, 360-degree Masons. The son of a widow, woman, are the only supreme beings of whom can stand in the form of a cross, 5-point star, and in a straight line, whether standing erect or laying down. When sons are laying asleep, they are lying on a dead level, and when standing erect, they are perpendicular at a right angle of 90 degrees. Of their head represents the North Pole, and their feet represents the South Pole. When lying on a dead level, their head represents east, and their feet represents west. These two positions of suns form the universal cross, which represents latitude north and south and longitude east. These two positions of suns from universal cross, which represents latitude north and south and longitude east and west. This fact makes woman and sons the great I am in life, creation, and perfection. In other words, the foundation of geometry. Suns can also stand in the form of a cross with their arms extended from each side. They also can stand in the form of a five-pointed star with their feet apart, their head number 1, their right arm number 2, their left arm number 3. So head number 1, go to your right arm number 2, go to your left arm number 3, your right foot number 4, and your left foot number 5. Thus, suns represents the 5 great principles of woman's universal supreme perfection in the course of 9 months. The 6-pointed star of the Moorish nation referred to as the Jewish Star of David. The first triangle represents the north gate, the summer season. The second represents the south gate, the winter season. These two triangles together form a 6-pointed star, summer and winter, of north and south. All there is, as above, so below. The land of Nod, as shown in the zodiac. The sixth sign Virgo, 180 degrees, as shown in the diagram of the 12 signs of the zodiac in September, when the sun enters the sign Virgo the last month, and the sign in the northern hemisphere, which marks the end of the summer season and the beginning of the fall season, are referred to in mystic religion and secret ordism as the land of Nod, meaning the North Pole. The science of astrology and electronics, the North Pole is referred to as Nod or Anode, and the South Pole, as shown in the 12th sign Pisces in the diagram of the zodiac in March, the last month of the year, are referred to in the science of astrology and electronics and Kathak, meaning negative, opposite of the positive, North Pole, as shown in the sign Virgo, at Node or Nod or Node or Nod, 180 degrees and 360 degrees. The religious mystery, namely Islamism, Judah, or Justism, or Catholicism. The above-mentioned religious isms, superstitions, are founded upon the negative South Pole cathode, from which were derived the terms Catholic and the church temple and the mosque system of mystic gods, prophets, superstitions, religious worship, and sultanate, priesthood, dictatorship, and human mental slavery, religious denominations, human hatred, fear, segregation, ignorance, crime, war, bloodshed, and human and property destruction as a result of negative culture contrary to unity, peace, justice, truth, and economic and social progress. The teachers and followers of all religions, and referred to in Bible mystery as the children of Abel and Seth, meaning priesthood, to sultanate, the dictatorship, kings and queens, or the royal family. Cain, the children of light, the woman and sons who rebelled against the negative system of Catholicism between 1789 and 1863 North American, are referred to as the children of Cain, or the sons and daughters of light, meaning scientific knowledge of the universal law of the Moorish nation as shown in the 12 signs of the zodiac. Those Amazon white sons and daughters of Cain in North America are referred to as the mystic Turks of the Arabian Nights, or Cain, who slew Abel, who went to the land of Nod. He met his wife whom he had never seen, yet they both knew each other well. Cain's wife in the sixth sign, Virgo, of the zodiac, the halfway sign of the stomach and earth, 180 degrees east longitude, the north gate, which culminates in the deep waters of Boston, Mass., USA. A node or node of the land of Nod, geometry, has never told a lie. The square and angle of 90 degrees, or the square and compass, which is the universal law of the Moorish nation, referred to as Negroes. And then it has the Latin or Arabic symbols of the alphabet. So that's real cool. Like ba, ta, tha. but it has the symbol. It was imagery, and so it has the symbols that represents a certain pitch, ta, ba, but it's symbolized into a pronunciation, ta, ba. You know what I'm saying? That's Arabic. Let's go through the days of the week, and we'll close. Extra fact worth knowing: how the days of the week got their names. How did the days of the week get their name? First day, Sunday, proton, positive, the center of attraction. Sunday is derived from Shamsun, Latin, meaning Sunday, sulfur, gold, copper, and granite, atomic elements from Mexico to North Canada, and from New Orleans, St. Louis, and Chicago lies in the region of the sun. The sign Leo, the Golden Gate in California. The human heart is the vital organ of the sun. Second day, Monday, moon, electron, negative, the circle of the center of gravity which governs the human mind, feeling, and muscles. Monday is derived from Kamrum, Latin, meaning moon day, water, air, salt, and silver, biology. The moon is exalted in the islands of the Philippines and Japan, Korea, the USSR, and the sign Taurus. Third day, Mars, voltage, Tuesday, is derived from tu, Latin, meaning Mars, the force of evolution, on, steel, construction, and industry. Mars is exalted in the Union, South Africa, in the Capricorn, in the South Gate. Equal education memory. Equal education memory. The human subconscious mind, the reasoning mind, and the superconscious mind represent the God of creation. All human beings are equally endowed with inalienable rights. Fourth day, Mercury, Wednesday, is derived from Dies Mercuria, Latin, meaning the god of forethought, namely woman and sons, the god of the wind and the creation of the world. In North American barbarian mythology, the planet Mercury mind is referred to as Moses, Socrates, prophet, and Odin and Odin's day, meaning Wednesday, chemistry. The planet Mercury also governs freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and the press. The planet Mercury is exalted in New York and Boston, the USA. The sign Virgo, 180 degrees, the last of the North Gate. Fifth day, Jupiter. Thursday is derived from Judah or Juvus, Latin, meaning wisdom of medical science, health, wealth, and progress. Gold in North American barbarian mythology. The planet Jupiter is referred to as Jupiter or Saint Peter. And Thor, Thor's day, meaning Thursday. Thus, Odin and Thor are the first two major mythical gods of the North American barbarian tribes. Jupiter is exalted in the region from Hawaii to California in the sign Cancer. Venus, and with you be peace. Wa alaikum assalam, Moorish Latin. Wa alaikum assalam, Moorish Latin. Friday is derived from Freya or Frigga, Latin, meaning lady of love or woman, the god of creation, of sons, unity, music, peace, and enjoyment, and rested or relaxed on the seventh day. In North American barbarian mythology, Freya is phrased in the sixth day. God created heaven and earth, and on the seventh day, and rested on the seventh day. In reality, woman and sons recorded the names of mythical gods as weapons of power over one another, from which has resulted in human mental slavery on a universal scale. Venus is exalted in the 12th sign Pisces in the region of Java, India, 360 degrees opposite New York, USA, 180 degrees. The seventh day, Saturn. Saturn is derived from Saturn, Latin, meaning the elements of lead, tin, carbon, coal, dye, and diamond, and the 90-degree span or 7-day change of the face of the moon Saturn, the time market of the universe, and evolution and restriction. The planet Saturn is exalted in the seventh sign Libra in the region of Brazil from November 1950 to 1953. The descendants of the North American barbarians known as the Jewish, Muslim, Mohammedan, Catholic, Christian religious mythology are founded upon Freya, Friday, and Saturday, or the planets Venus and Saturn. The descendants of the North American barbarians are also referred to in religious mythology as the tribes of Ishmael, meaning priesthood, tramps, thieves, robbers, and murderers by trade as the result of ignorance owing to religious mythology. The Ishmaels were in power throughout the North America prior to the Union of 1863. Ransom was one of their greatest procedures for money or land. The Ishmaels were in power throughout the North American prior to the Union of 1863. Ransom was one of their greatest procedures for money or land. The Ishmaels laid the foundation for Wall Street, North New York, feudal imperial Rome. Providence, Latin. The term providence is derived from Latin meaning prove and provide. That is to say, be guided by scientific knowledge of reality and share it with the unfortunate in order that they might become qualified to liberate themselves mentally and thus solve their own problems. God is science of the human mind, realities. The devil is the religious mythology, unreal, which spells emotional, religious insanity, human hatred, disunity, fear, violence, war, and human destruction. One's own only believe in providence, realities, and self and humanity and knowledge of solution, problems of life. They all violently and secretly hated by the ones who believe only in Allah, God, Christ, Jehovah, Jesus, religion, church, temple, and mosque. Such is the power of religion, insanity. This insanity makes religious people condemn the very thing which they proclaim to love, namely the living truth, the works of nature, the zodiac, which is in reality themselves. This process of religious insanity makes them unconscious criminals, crucifieds, and murderers by trade. Thanks to those who diligently revised these books, The Clock of Destiny, in no way did the information change from its original content written by C.M. Bay in 1947, but only reprinted in the year 2000 Christian calendar year for those seeking the light of truth. So that's Clock of Destiny 2, Islam. I enjoyed being here with you all for this short time. I'll be coming back with the Valley of Dry Bones in the book of Ezekiel. I think it is in the book of Ezekiel. But I'll be coming back with the Valley of Dry Bones, and we'll expound a little bit into that topic. Make sure you subscribe, like, share. I'm going to try to keep this consistent. I'm going to try to keep this flowing. I'm going to try to get it more professional, a more professional setting, so that it's clarity and so that you all can be revealed some truth and divine truth, not that I'm presenting or bringing. I'm only reminding you, or that I created. I'm just presenting it. I'm not the creator of these facts or the truth. I'm only presenting it and reminding those people who have been put asleep through sorcery and miseducation, through the popes of Rome, and through false doctrines and false concepts of ourselves and of our perception of reality. So Islam, study, be virtuous in your travels. I'll be back soon. Islam.